9-year-old nephew Andre and I were eager to do a hike together, and I selected Big Coolidge Mountain. This decision was based on my expectation that we could follow a trail up to the summit. But things didn't work out that way. Big Coolidge is a distinctive peak, clearly visible from downtown Lincoln. It is directly across the street from the Loon Mountain Ski Complex. The two sides of the highway couldn't be more different, however. The slopes of Loon Mountain are cram-packed with noisy activity, people, trails, snow-making guns, and thoroughly overdeveloped civilization of every sort. In contrast, the slopes of Big Coolidge are unspoiled, undeveloped, all natural woods, no maintained trails. It is a great bushwhack. The day of our hike, Andre was up out of bed, ready to go, even before I was. He was shuffling about in the kitchen preparing toast for breakfast. It was 7 a.m. We confidently scheduled our big day. Again, things didn't work out exactly as planned. We were off to start our adventure. But first, an important stop at Burger King for breakfast. You see, it takes a lot of energy to climb a mountain. Andre and I easily polished off our breakfast specials. Somewhat further up the highway, a few scattered blocks of snow and ice on the side of the highway were the first suggestions that winter had already started up here in the woods. Andre played with my tiny binoculars. We continued speeding up the highway. Our goal was just a couple of miles east of Route 93 on the Kangamangas. The distinctive dual hump profile of Big Coolidge was obvious as soon as we got off the highway, just beyond the exit ramp in front of the McDonald's. We pulled off the road there to look at it carefully. From there, it looked so very close. It felt like we could reach out and touch it. The summit of Whaleback Mountain protruded to the right as a sharp asymmetrical cone. A mile or so further, we reached the entrance of Loon Mountain ski area. However, it wasn't obvious which of several nearby condominium complexes we should be exploring for the trailhead. I was puzzled. We looped around a tight maze of tiny streets winding higher and higher up this hillside, all the while failing to find any sign of the trailhead. Finally, a maintenance worker confidently gave us clear and detailed instructions to look for a set of large rocks that blocked the road. I chose to completely ignore his advice. That proved to be a costly mistake. I went the other way and parked behind the Pollard Brook guest house. I entered the Jeep trail, led north into the woods and up the hill. We followed into the woods for about 10 minutes, then an overgrown footpath for perhaps another 10 minutes, till we couldn't see it anymore. From there, it was a pure bushwhack through open hardwood forest. To be on the safe side, we took a compass reading and reset our altimeter. However, we simply followed our shadow up the hill and traveled parallel to Pollard Brook, which flowed noisily down a deep gully on our left. At this point, we were still confident, perhaps overly so, in our pursuit of the summit goal ahead, since it was still early in the day and the weather was cooperating, warm, just about freezing, and comfortable. Just a hint of a breeze and a beautiful day, we thought. I asked, "Hey Andre, are we having fun yet?" He responded enthusiastically, "Yeah, and we just climbed some cliffs." Time flew by. It was slow but steady progress. We turned around briefly to admire the view of the Loon Mountain ski trails. The sound of the snow-making guns was muffled by the distance. Every 10 minutes or so, Andre would borrow my hiking stick to break through the super hard icy crust of snow to measure its thickness. At first he announced 1 inch. Next to the summits, he would find more than several times that amount. Andre's youthful enthusiasm never faded. The only noteworthy exception was a short section of typically heavy blowdowns 100 yards below the fall's south summit. This proved especially difficult for Andre, perhaps more so since he probably didn't realize how close we were to the summit. To keep us moving forward and upward, I pulled Andre up over a few big logs. One time though, as I reached down from standing between 2 fallen tree trunks, reached down to pull Andre up, instead my feet slipped and he pulled me off the log and down into the snow-covered spruce shrub. I landed suddenly face first. Andre laughed and laughed for what seemed like minutes. We reached the falls summit, just short of the actual big Coolidge summit. By then, Andre's 100% cotton socks had absorbed all the water that they could from his open, non-waterproof hiking boots. He was stoically suffering with cold feet without complaining. I was a bit slow to appreciate his condition. We stopped there for a drink of apple cider. By then, Andre had already consumed both his share and my share of our supply of homemade cookies. We warmed Andre's feet by placing them on my chest, under my shirt, and then replaced his soaked white cotton socks with a pair of extra thick wool hiking socks that I had been wearing. The blue sky had been overpowered by thick gray, and a damp chill now filled the air. In spite of dragging Andre in a long arc up the side of this mountain, through both spruce brush and blowdowns, Andre's voice still retained an air of excitement that denied all the exhausting effort required to reach the summit. Andre's voice sounded unbelievably fresh. When I reach a summit register, my excitement is internal. Andre's was external. We found the large applesauce jar suspended on a tree which contained the summit register. We entered our names, the time and date, and little else. I gave Andre a hug as we started down without delay. Andre put on my red Gore-Tex outfit on top of his clothes. It was now very late, 3:30 p.m., much later than I had planned. It had taken us a grueling 4+ non-stop hours to reach the summit. Now there was perhaps only 45 minutes of daylight remaining. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be a major concern, since I would pull out all the stops here and make a mad dash down the hill at this point. But how much more could I ask of my young hiking partner? Fortunately, Andre understood the seriousness of our situation and cooperated with my lead. This helped a lot, and we worked well together. We quickly replaced our steps, this time bypassing South Peak where we were smart enough this time to circle around the thick blowdown patch that had been such a challenge to ascend. It was a futile race against the darkness setting in, and there was no chance of our beating it down. When most of the remaining daylight had faded away, I looked at my altimeter. I couldn't believe that we had descended only 300 feet. We had a long way to go. It was now that I got a bit nervous. We managed to bypass the first of several steeply inclined ice sheets that lay bare of trees. Then we were forced to cut across one of these ice tables, tilted at a 45-degree angle. 3 inches of crusty snow made each step a challenge. We held on to each other as we inched across the open face. I don't really know who slipped first, but the two of us suddenly found ourselves holding on to each other tightly and gently but unstoppably sliding down the hill on our sides. We came to a stop on a small bush, Andre on one side and I on the other, with our arms linking us tightly. I felt that this was serious, but Andre could only laugh. Soon after getting out of this predicament, Andre silently dropped one of his wet gloves and it slipped under some trees, down the hill, and far into the darkness. He abandoned it. By now, it was already dark. At this point, light snow started to fall. It was time to resort to the tiny emergency flashlight. It worked fine, even for the two of us. We were fortunate to find heads-up bushwhacking. The twist and turn, crawl on your knees parts of the trip were behind us now. For maximum safety, I insisted that Andre walk a few steps behind me and that he place his feet in the same spots that my feet had broken through the crust of icy snow. It was slow going, but we kept moving constantly. Andre never asked for a break, not even once. As it got darker, the lights of the Loon Mountain ski area shone from far below through the trees. The cluster of tiny white lights provided a sense of direction, and more importantly, a reassuring, false sense of that civilization was just ahead. The batteries in the flashlight gave out amazingly suddenly. Fortunately, we were only a couple of 100 yards above a street light. It was 6:30 p.m. when we reached the road, and that street light that acted as a directional beacon for us. I yelled, "We made it!" and Andre chimed in, "Yeah!" We had paced ourselves for about 2 hours coming down under the light of that tiny flashlight. We were still perhaps more than a mile from our car, so we bummed a ride from a passing motorist. The first order of business after getting back to the car was a quickly placed phone call to the girls at home, so they wouldn't worry. We found a payphone at Burger King. We immediately went in for something to eat. I had fun at our hike, Andre proudly announced. We ordered 2 man-sized meals. After supper, Andre was out like a light in the warm car. I drove home carefully, taking my time driving through snow-filled air and a slippery pipe.